These are all paintings from 1962, more or less. She had gone to the Art Institute in Chicago and came to New York in 1960-61. And what precede this are a series of drawings that are related to subway commercials, ads, and then this body of work immediately follows that. What this work represents is a sort of a psychological drama where the body is in parts. It's never a complete entity. It's these faces that do things, that things happen to. And then she composes this in these incredible dramatic frames where it's just shapes and forms that just are locked in. Then what follows out of this is a simplifying of these same sort of actions, but she works with tools that have this sort of human form, this rubbing, this penetrating, this action. And then that simplifies as time goes by and becomes more abstract and more conceptual. A number of paintings in here that show light switches, or every apartment in New York or loft in New York had this little box that you opened up that could call the fire apartment, and they appear in a number of these. They look like sort of like lids being opened up, and that's sort of the sort of way in which she works with an image that's in the studio, but also from without, which is to say, out the window, out the door, out the light switch, all of these sort of connections that are the studio, and then are these images that she has reduced into this. What's interesting about the work is that initially she, what comes along with this in a series of drawings are these ads that are related to commercials and advertisements, but it's always wordplay, so that she'll take a very common advertising form of the early 60s where it says, 7 out of 10 doctors recommend you smoke some cigarette or another, and she would say, 9 out of 11 or 9 out of 10 say eat cock for mental health. And so there's a lot of this sort of play on language in the work. And she does this in these paintings also where, for instance, you'll see this sort of box shape that has opened up, and on the one side there will be a perforation and shape that opens up that is more or less the ear or the face, and the other side of it will be, it's sort of parallel, will be the cutout that is the ear of a cup. And so there's sort of this play of dualities, and she's working here instead of with words with images. They're very confrontational, and there's a lot of tension in the imagery. That's certainly the case. There's a deconstructed form, and there are these things happening between the shapes, the body parts, or something that it's being penetrated. Clearly, there's some sort of force, perhaps. There is a certain conflict in this sort of action. There's a sort of arc in her work that reflects a little bit what's going on in the New York art world at a time. This comes sort of at the sort of tail end of abstract expressionism. Pop has appeared. These are not pop, but they're certainly working with imagery. It's very early on in the use of, and it's memorable because she's working with images, and there's a narrative, there's an actual story, there's an actual idea in these. They're not representational by way of image. And so as this work develops, the next group of works are these sort of roughly painted, loosely painted paintings that have to do with tools that are, again, in sort of anthropomorphized tools, carrying out actions. And that simplifies into more abstract shapes, and ultimately they're entirely abstract, and it culminates essentially in the Wave series that she's very well known for. So it's an arc toward abstraction and toward a concept, but in fact those ideas, many of those ideas, are right here, and they're fully realized in this group of works.